Alright, we are doing section 3.5, writing ratios and proportions. Now a ratio, the definition of one is that it uses division to compare two quantities. Okay, now we're going to go through and show you how we can use division. First, there are three different ways to write a ratio. First one is just to write A to B with the word 2 in the middle. Second one is A to B with a colon in the middle. And the third one is A over B, which is also written said as A to B, but that's the one that I like the best because it's showing the actual division that's being used. A volleyball team plays 14 home matches and 10 away. Find the ratio of home to away. So we know we have to have home on top and away on the bottom since home was mentioned first. Home to away, and then we can plug in everything where it belongs, 14 to 10, and we have to make sure to simplify or it is not correct. 7 to 5. Ratio of home to all. Well, the home is still 14 on top, and for all we need to add up the home and away, so all is 24, and still need to simplify. It goes down to 7/12. A proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent or equal. That's what equivalent means. So what that would look like is A over B equals C over D. Those are both ratios, and you set them equal to each other, which makes them a proportion. Keeping in mind, though, that we can't have B or D equal to 0 because that would be dividing by 0, which we cannot do. Okay, now how do we solve for proportions? Well, we have to solve them for the missing variable, of course. So the way I'm going to show you how to do it first is to multiply both sides by whatever number is directly below the variable. In this case, it's 30. So if I multiply the right side by 30, that goes away. On the left side, there's a couple of different ways to do this. I think the easiest way is just to do 30 times 11 divided by 6. You can also see that 30 is 30 over 1. And we can divide out that 6. So it's 5 times 11. X is 55. You can put those back in the proportion to check the correctness of your answer, but the easiest thing to do is to cancel out those factors or just to multiply everything through. If you're going to multiply everything through on that one, 30 times 11 is 330, and 6 on the bottom, divide those two, that's 55 as well. Okay, part A, multiply by 35 on both sides. W ends up being 20. Part B, multiply both sides by 12. M is 54. And on C, multiply both sides by 54, and Z is 30. Okay, next we're going to set up our proportion using a recipe for tomato salsa. We have 30 tomatoes to make 12 pints of salsa, so how many tomatoes are needed to make 4 pints? Well, there's a couple different ways to set up these proportions. I'll show you a couple of them. This is my favorite way. The first way is to horizontally have the same labels. So we always have what we're trying to solve for on the top if we can. So we're trying to solve for tomatoes. So tomatoes should go on top. And then the number of pints goes on the bottom. And they always tell us what one pair of information is. The pair of information they gave us is that it takes 30 tomatoes to make 12 pints of salsa. So that will go together on the same ratio. And then the second one is going to be where unknown is. We don't know how many tomatoes, so that's going to be on top to make 4 pints of salsa. I'm going to show you the other way before we solve it out. The other way to do this is to have each ratio just be one different label. So tomatoes goes on the same and pints goes on the other. So 30 tomatoes. Let's undo that. Let's put the variable on top. Like I mentioned earlier, we do want to do that. Excuse me. So we're going to have x on top with 30 on the bottom. And then horizontally they have to match. So x goes with 4 and 30 goes with 12. There's two different ways to do these. I prefer the top one. And then when we solve the top one out, we just have to multiply both sides by 4. And x ends up being 10 tomatoes. Okay. The elevator that takes passengers from the lobby of the John Hancock Center in Chicago to the observation level travels at 150 feet in 5 seconds. The observation level is located on the 94th floor, which is 1,029 feet above the ground. Find the time it takes the elevator to travel to the lobby, from the lobby to the observation level. So again, we have to have our two ratios. On top is going to be what we're trying to solve for, which is seconds. So we have to make sure we have time on top, which is in seconds, and feet on the bottom, or distance. So the one pair that we know is that it takes 5 seconds to travel 150 feet. And then we're trying to solve for how long it takes to get to 1,029 feet. We're just going to set that one up the one time. We're going to multiply both sides by 1,029. If we multiply through the top, 5 times 1,029 is 5,145 divided by 150, which is 34.3 seconds when you divide that out. Okay, and that is the section on 3.5, ratios and proportions.